This is the two-voice resonator. So this is a mono in, stereo out. If we look at the diagram here, we can see that the left and right channel are going to get summed and go through these resonators. A resonator is just a delay with feedback. It also has a low-pass filter built into the feedback loop, so it can get attenuated every time that it feeds back. We have an output level control and then a pan. So it's mono and stereo out in that the resonators can be panned left and right, imparting different information out of each speaker. So let's get into the parameters. We get two voices. We set the time of the delay, you could think of it as, with the pitch. It's not so different from the way pitch works in STR1. The pitch is not affected by temperament or global tuning. So you are stuck at equal temperament, which is okay though, because you don't necessarily need the pitch to be exact for resonators. In fact, it kind of sounds nice when you do have them a little off. It almost gives like a unison sound. So you also have a fine cent control here that can offset the pitch by 10-cent increments up to 50 cents. So right now I have a blip of noise. The effect is bypassed. Let's hear what it sounds like. And now let's turn the effect on. I have the effect on all the way wet. And let's just listen to voice one. I'll turn up the level here and let's give it some resonance or feedback. Essentially, this is going to be turning up the delays. So it effectively just sounds like a car plus strong algorithm, right? It's a delay with feedback. It very much sounds like STR1. We give it some high dampening, and it gives us that string sound. So we can change the pitch of this string by the pitch knob. We can shorten the delay, giving us higher notes. And we could lengthen the delay, giving us lower notes. If we go all the way down, we can almost hear the individual delays. This is also a good opportunity for us to look at the low pass filter. Let's just give it full resonance, so there's no attenuation going on, and then I'll increase the high dampening, which is going to lower the cutoff of the low pass filter. The low pass filter is actually really gentle. It looks steeper than it is because remember, every time that it's recirculating, it is getting attenuated by that low pass filter. Of course, we have this pan knob, so I can pan the effect left or right. Let's hear what that sounds like. Let's increase the pitch, decrease resonance, increase high dampening. Now, the unit has some controls for resonance. We can set the resonance manually like I was just doing, or we could use an LFO. The LFO will set the resonance at 0, and then it will modulate it based on mod depth, of course. And there's something that I need to show you real fast. Resonance goes in a positive direction or a negative direction on this. A negative direction just means that it is giving the signal a polarity flip every time that it gets sent through the recirculation, every time it gets fed back. So what this does, you can think about this in two ways. An easy way to think about it, or actually the more difficult way to think about it, is probably that it's dropping the note that it's creating by an octave and giving you odd harmonics. So let's look at it with positive resonance. We get this D sharp 2. And let me show you, so right now I'm at about 61 hertz, right? With negative resonance, and you can also see the harmonics, 61, 122, whatever this number is, so on and so forth. With negative resonance, we're going to drop it by an octave, or we're going to only have odd harmonics. And the reason for that is because if you think about the signal getting polarity flipped effectively doubles its size, right? You have a new fundamental that's twice the length. So that's why it gets dropped by an octave. And then you only have odd harmonics because you have created a symmetrical waveform. Um, so every time you flip a waveform and then combine it with the original, you effectively have a symmetrical waveform which only is odd harmonics, unlike something like a saw or anything asymmetric. So that's one way to think about resonance and what it's doing with positive and negative. There's another way to think about it though, and that's that negative resonance is canceling out the harmonics that you had previously. So where we had harmonics even and odd, we'll now have attenuations. So we don't have anything at 61, we don't have anything at 122, so on and so forth. So we have troughs where we once had peaks. And setting the control mode to an LFO will modulate between positive and negative. Let's see here, let's... Negative, positive. And then of course we have dynamic modulation where we could use anything from this list. Now let's talk about something that the manual says. It says that the effect includes 2 independent resonators, can be resonate at a specified pitch. You can use it to add a unique character to string sounds by emphasizing certain harmonics. This is interesting that in that, you know, some instruments like a cello might create like a wolf tone, or there are formants based on the body of certain instruments or resonances. Pianos do it too. So this can mimic some of those effects, those formants. You can also introduce a pitched element to a drum loop. So let's try that out. So I'll go ahead and grab a drum loop. I'll turn it on, and it'll be sustained. And then I have that drum loop routed to this other resonator here. So let's listen. I have it on 50-50 right now. Let's give it some resonance. So that's one voice. We have another resonator here. This is a fifth now, C3 and G3. We can pan these. And then we can turn down the dry wet so the harmonics aren't as loud. So now if I were to play something in C, I would get these nice little resonant voices. I could also add an LFO. Now there's something about this that is worth talking about. If I have an LFO, if I'm using the individual LFO that's built into the effect, it's free running. So I never really know what phase the LFO is going to start on, which gives us kind of inconsistency. By having it on one of the common LFOs, I can set the common LFO to be reset by something like gate. And I could also have the drum loop reset by gate, or at least start via a gate, via a note on. So that way I get consistency with the with what the LFO is doing, with the LFO affecting resonance, and then the parts of the loop that is getting affected by the resonance getting boosted. So let's hear what this sounds like. Sounds good. Turn it down a bit. Then I can jump over into my voices. Should have a little. Going back to my effects. That's going through here. I can have this one be manually controlled. A bit higher. C5, why not? C3. Whenever you hear the drum loop get dropped out, it's probably because I'm not hitting the keys at the right time, which is on the downbeat to get the effect. And that's all we need to really go over with the two-voice resonator. I covered every aspect of it, and I hope you have fun. All right, bye.